So you want to know about the ice story. You want to know what that was about.
Yeah, apparently you were like frozen in a block of ice.
It was July of 95. First summer here was at Magic Waters. But just to let you know how this happened, a friend I had made had told me about a women's shelter that was running out of money. And the situation was there was enough space for women and children to get out of a dangerous situation that they were in to find some safety. The problem was they just didn't have enough beds or enough staff to accommodate all these women. So, God only knows where these women were winding up and if they were just staying in the awful situations that they were in with their children. And at about the same time that I had been told about this story, we were told about this group that has this giant 5,000-pound block of ice they roll around the country in a refrigerated truck. And the purpose of it was if you could find someone who was crazy enough to endure what goes on inside there, you could pay for this thing to come and you could use it as, an opportunity to create a spectacle.
Okay.
And sometimes that's what you need when you need to raise money. Sometimes you don't get enough people's attention. You don't make it, it's not an effective fundraiser. And so we were able to put this together and we made it happen before I ever knew really what I was in store for. But the person that told me that story was one of those people who was not allowed a bed. And what she endured was, for what I was going to go through, it was nothing.
Right.
For the horrors and the pain that woman dealt with, this is going to be a piece of cake. I thought.
Sure.
I thought.
Yeah.
So we do the show like on a Friday. We go out there, and I go into an office at Magic Waters and have this conversation with this guy about what is going to happen. Now, just so you know, this is not like what they say has happened to Walt Disney. I wasn't cryogenically frozen and brought back to life.
You weren't like the Encino Man or David Blaine or anything.
No.
Okay.
And to be honest with you, I don't even really know about that David Blaine thing, exactly what happened, but I think this might have been very similar.
Okay.
So basically, the cavity inside that ice was just slightly larger than the size of my body. And on the floor of that thing was like a gymnastics mat, 2 or 3 inches thick. Okay. Not the softest thing in the world, but it's a lot better than actually laying on the ice. And much like the chemistry of an igloo, how Eskimos are able to stay warm in an igloo is, now it's big enough they can have a fire in there, but you can't do that in this thing.
Right.
But it steals your body temperature to equalize so that you can find a sort of comfort zone. So the smaller the cavity, the larger the body in it, the sooner it gets to a point where it's not like you're getting frostbite in there. But believe me when I tell you, it is very cold.
Okay.
Which also made it very difficult to go to the bathroom in there, which I had to do in Ziploc bags. And it was before they had the blue and yellow seals that turned green to let you know they were sealed. So for over 30 hours, I laid there next to that, wondering if those bags were truly sealed.
Oh, my goodness.
And it was complicated because you know what happens when you're in the cold.
Oh, yeah.
The other thing is, the guy has you hypnotized to help you relax because you're in a very confined space and it's dark. You can't see. Okay. And there was a tube that went all the way through the ice that somebody could go on the outside inside this refrigerated truck and look down the tube, and it was right over my face. So you could look at me and you could look. I would like one eye people,
Yeah.
And so it's just, you get in there, it's claustrophobic. It's after a couple of hours go by, it gets really nuts. And there were a number of times that I was like, I don't know if I can continue. And I wanted to be able to do this for at least 30 hours. And long story short, I made it through. But the guy hypnotized you to relax, and he says, would you like to be, sometimes hypnosis works, if there's a habit you'd like to quit. And I said, well, yeah, I'd like to quit smoking. I'm going to be in there 30 hours with a cigarette. That's going to add to my stress.
Yeah.
Shoot, first thing I wanted when I got there was a cigarette.
Oh, my gosh.
That didn't work. But here's the thing. We raised $7,000 in those 30 hours. And then the very next week at the time, the mayor was Charles Box, and he had allocated another $50,000 grant to that facility, and they were able to buy a lot more beds and hire a couple more staff members. At this point, this woman obviously had gotten beyond where she needed to be and was back on her feet, so she didn't need the facility.
Right.
But we were able to help women and some children that did. So that's the story behind all of that. I think a lot of people honestly thought that I was turned into, a popsicle and then I was thawed back out again. No, that's not what happened. So there's the story.